If you knew how dangerous your negative thoughts really were, you'd never think one again. Most people go through life completely unaware that their greatest enemy isn't poverty, lack of opportunity, or bad luck. It's the quiet, persistent voice in their own mind that whispers limitations and feeds doubt. Negative thinking is a parasite. It doesn't strike all at once, it chips away at your confidence slowly. One bad thought becomes a belief, that belief shapes your behavior, and your behavior controls your results. You may think it's harmless to say, "I can't," or "I'm not ready," or "this isn't for me." But those phrases, repeated often enough, become iron bars in the prison of your subconscious. That's not philosophy, it's fact. You see, your subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't question. It doesn't analyze. It simply accepts what you repeatedly tell it. The moment you allow negative thought to enter and stay, your subconscious takes it as truth. And then it gets to work, creating results that match that thought. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are in harmony with. And if you're vibrating on fear, scarcity, or self-doubt, guess what? That's exactly what you'll keep getting. You're not cursed, you're conditioned. You've been programmed from childhood to expect less, to doubt more, and to fear change. And the tragedy? Most people never realize they are trapped in a mental cage they've built themselves. Negative thinking doesn't just affect your emotions, it affects your body, your decisions, your relationships, and your future. It clouds judgment, steals ambition, and distorts reality. It convinces you that playing small is safe, that taking risks is dangerous, and that success is only for the lucky or talented. But that's a lie. And here's the truth, every great achievement in history started with a decision to reject fear and rise above the noise of doubt. Your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe, but when filled with negative thoughts, it becomes your worst enemy. If you want to kill negative thinking, you have to confront it with awareness. You have to shine a light on it. Because darkness only survives where there's no light. You can't fix what you don't understand. And most people never stop long enough to question their automatic thoughts. They react instead of respond. They follow patterns instead of rewriting them. You've got to stop being a passive participant in your own mind. You've got to take the wheel. Every thought is a seed. What you plant today will grow tomorrow. Plant anger and you'll harvest regret. Plant fear and you'll reap stagnation. But plant faith and you'll create miracles. The brain is a powerful filter. It deletes information that doesn't match your dominant thoughts. That's why someone who believes they are unlucky will always find misfortune. Not because life is cruel, but because their mind is looking for confirmation of their inner narrative. That's how negative thinking works, it creates a self-fulfilling loop. You think you'll fail, so you don't try hard. You get poor results, and now you believe you're a failure. The truth is, your failure didn't come from reality, it came from belief. You weren't born thinking negatively. That was learned. And anything learned can be unlearned. But it takes intention. It takes repetition. It takes replacing those mental weeds with something stronger. You need to feed your mind with truth, possibility, and vision daily. Because if you don't plant your own thoughts, someone else will. And most of the time, what the world plants in your mind is fear-based. You're not enough. You're too late. You're too old. You're too young. You need permission. But the truth is, you were born with everything you need. The only thing standing in your way is the thought that says you can't. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. If you tell it you're confident, it believes you. If you tell it you're defeated, it believes that too. That's why it's so critical to guard your thoughts. If you let negativity live in your mind rent-free, it will take over everything. Your energy, your peace, your direction, it'll all get hijacked. And before long, you'll find yourself shrinking from life instead of expanding into it. That's not your destiny. That's your programming. And it can be rewritten. When you start questioning your thoughts, everything changes. You start noticing how automatic they've become. How your mind rushes to fear instead of faith. How you've been rehearsing problems more than solutions. Killing negative thinking doesn't mean you'll never have a negative thought again. It means you stop feeding it. You starve it by flooding your mind with higher truths. With new beliefs. With mental discipline. You replace the story of limitation with the truth of your infinite potential. That's when you take your power back. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. And the moment you separate yourself from that toxic voice in your head, the moment you say, "This is not who I am," you begin the process of transformation. Real change isn't external. It starts in the mind. It starts by mastering the invisible before the visible can change. You don't need more motivation. You need new programming. And that begins by killing the old dialogue that's kept you stuck. You don't have to listen to it anymore. You can choose better. You can choose higher. Because you are not limited by your past, you are liberated by your decision to think differently today. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is the sum total of your most dominant thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns. The results in your life, your income, your relationships, your health, they are all just the reflection of the thoughts you've been planting over time. That's not speculation. That's the law of cause and effect. Every thought sends out a vibration. Every vibration attracts a result. That's how this universe works. It doesn't respond to your wishes, it responds to your frequency. You've been programmed since birth to operate from limitation. Not because your parents or teachers meant harm, they simply didn't know any better. They inherited the same fear-based programming. Be realistic. Play it safe. Don't dream too big. These phrases might sound harmless, but they are loaded with mental poison. They are the seeds of self-doubt, and if they are left unchallenged, they grow into mental walls that keep you confined for a lifetime. It's not your fault that you were programmed. But it becomes your responsibility to change it once you know better. Negative thinking operates like a virus in your mind's operating system. You can't fix it with surface-level advice like, "Just be positive." That's like painting over rust. True change happens when you go deep, when you pull the old beliefs out by the root and replace them with truth. And that takes conscious effort. You've got to get intentional about what you feed your mind. Because your mind is always open. It's always listening. And if you don't program it on purpose, the world will do it for you with fear, drama, scarcity, and distraction. Reprogramming begins with awareness. Start paying attention to your self-talk. The voice inside your head is shaping your entire life. If it's constantly criticizing, judging, doubting, and fearing, then it's controlling your results. You have to interrupt the pattern. You have to catch yourself in the act and say, "That's not my truth anymore." You've got to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Just like you wouldn't let garbage pile up in your living room, you shouldn't allow mental garbage to take up space in your consciousness. Thoughts become things, and your future depends on which ones you entertain. Understand this: your subconscious is a loyal servant. It doesn't care if what you feed it is empowering or destructive. It will accept whatever you give it, without resistance, and go to work creating your reality to match. That's why repetition is the key. You've got to speak new truths to yourself over and over again. I am powerful. I am capable. I am worthy. I create my reality. These aren't just words, they are commands to your subconscious. And if you repeat them with belief, they start to overwrite the old programming that said you couldn't, you shouldn't, or you weren't enough. Visualization is another tool, and it's not some woo-woo concept. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. When you see yourself succeeding, clearly, consistently, emotionally, your brain starts creating new neural pathways. You begin acting in alignment with the future version of yourself. That's the key to transformation, behaving like the person you want to become, even before the world sees it. Because change doesn't start outside. It begins inside. And the more you act from the new belief, the faster your reality shifts to reflect it. You've got to also become emotionally intelligent. Negative thoughts often ride on the back of negative emotions: fear, anger, guilt, shame. If you don't learn how to regulate those emotions, they'll hijack your thinking again and again. That's why daily practices like meditation, journaling, and gratitude aren't just feel-good trends. They are tools of mental reprogramming. They quiet the noise. They bring you back to center. They allow you to see your thoughts clearly and choose them wisely. Every day you do this, your mind becomes less reactive and more responsive. That's power. Most people never do this inner work. They try to change their life from the outside, a new job, a new relationship, a new city, but they carry the same thoughts into each new environment. And so the results repeat. It's not that life is unfair. It's that the mind is unchanged. If you want to kill negative thinking, you've got to replace it with empowered thinking that's supported by action. You can't just sit and hope for change. You must think intentionally, feel deeply, and act boldly. Decision is the first step. You've got to decide that your old beliefs no longer serve you. Decision is powerful. It slams the door shut on the past and opens the window to your future. Once you decide, then discipline comes into play. Discipline isn't punishment, it's alignment. It's the daily choice to think thoughts that match the life you want, not the one you fear. It's rejecting the temptation to react to old triggers. It's catching yourself when you slip and choosing better without shame. Faith is the bridge between your present and your potential. Not blind faith, but spiritual certainty and knowing that your vision is real even before the evidence shows up. Faith neutralizes fear. It creates a vibration that attracts solutions, people, and opportunities. And the moment you begin thinking from your vision instead of your history, the past loses its grip. You are no longer a slave to circumstance, you become a creator of your future. That's the highest use of your mind, not to minimize facts, not to relive pain, but to create what does not yet exist. Let me say this clearly, nothing outside of you can defeat you unless it gets inside your mind. Your circumstances don't define you, your response to them does. You are not the product of your environment. You are the product of your thoughts. And the more you affirm this truth, the more you take back your power. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common, not money, not fame, not connections, but an unshakable mindset. They control their thoughts before their thoughts control them. You can reprogram your mind at any age, from any background, and under any circumstance. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. Your mind is plastic, it can be molded. Your beliefs can be upgraded. Your identity can evolve. But you've got to be willing to let go of what's familiar. You've got to be willing to feel uncomfortable as you grow. Because transformation isn't easy, but it is worth it. And once you taste the freedom of a disciplined mind, you'll never want to go back. This is how you kill negative thinking, not with force, but with focused awareness, consistent discipline, and bold belief. It's not a one-time event. It's a way of life. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. One day, you'll look back and realize the thoughts that once controlled you are now powerless. Because you rose above them. You rewrote the program. You stepped into the driver's seat. And you became the architect of a new reality. There comes a point when you stop asking, what if it doesn't work, and start declaring, what if it does? That shift from doubt to possibility is when everything begins to move. The entire universe starts responding to the vibration of belief. And you don't need to know how it will all unfold. You just need to make a decision that you will no longer tolerate negative thinking running the show. This is the defining moment. The line in the sand. The day your future stops being dictated by your past. Most people die with their potential locked inside them, not because they weren't talented, but because they let their thoughts tell them otherwise. They waited for permission. They believed the opinions of others more than the vision inside themselves. They obeyed the voice of fear instead of the whisper of faith. And every time they hesitated, their power shrunk. But listen to me now, that doesn't have to be your story. You are one decision away from a different life. And that decision starts in your thinking. You don't fight darkness with more darkness, you bring in light. You don't kill negative thoughts with force, you expose them with truth. And the truth is this, you are more powerful than any excuse, any fear, any past mistake. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not your trauma. You are the awareness behind every thought. And once you realize that, you unlock a level of control most people never taste in their lifetime. You stop reacting, and you start responding. You stop surviving, and you start creating. That's when life bends in your favor. The mind is like a garden. If you don't deliberately plant flowers, weeds will grow by default. Negative thinking is the weed. But gratitude, clarity, faith, discipline, those are the flowers. And they require care. Daily. Repetition builds roots. That's why you don't listen to one audio and expect transformation. You saturate your mind in the new truth until it becomes your automatic setting. You rehearse success. You speak life. You train your thoughts the same way an athlete trains their body every single day. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The great secret of every achiever is this: they feel fear too, they just don't obey it. They still have negative thoughts, but they don't feed them. They feel the resistance, but they move anyway. That's mental strength. It's not about eliminating all doubt, it's about mastering your response to it. It's recognizing the fear, hearing the excuses, and doing the work regardless. You see, your thoughts don't control you unless you give them authority. And every time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its grip. That's how momentum builds. That's how transformation happens. You've got to get emotionally involved with your new identity. Don't just say affirmations, feel them. Don't just visualize your dream, live it in your imagination as if it's already yours. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. When you combine clear thought with strong emotion and daily repetition, you become unstoppable. You begin to operate on a new frequency. And that frequency attracts people, places, and opportunities that match your upgraded belief system. You don't chase success, you magnetize it. Now, let's talk about environment. You cannot expect to maintain high-level thinking in a toxic atmosphere. You've got to protect your space. That means turning off the noise, limiting time with negative influences, and curating your input like your life depends on it, because it does. Your surroundings should inspire your future, not remind you of your limitations. You don't owe anyone access to your energy. Not everyone deserves a seat in your mental arena. Sometimes, killing negative thinking means walking away from those who keep it alive. Your routine becomes your ritual. Wake up with purpose. Start your day with vision. Speak life over yourself before the world can speak fear into you. Read the books. Listen to the audios. Write the goals. Visualize the future. Guard the gate of your mind like it holds the keys to your destiny, because it does. You don't need external motivation when your inner world is aligned. You'll move because your purpose demands it. You'll act because your vision won't let you sit still. That's when life becomes electric, when you're driven by a deep inner knowing that you're on the right path. And let's be honest, you will slip. There will be days when the old thoughts creep back in. That's okay. The goal is not perfection, it's awareness. You catch it. You don't dwell. You correct course quickly. The old you would spiral for days. The new you resets in minutes. That's growth. That's mastery. The faster you bounce back, the stronger your mindset becomes. And eventually, the negative thinking that used to control you begins to fade like background noise. Because you've trained your mind to tune into something higher. See, you're not on this journey alone. Every person who has ever done something extraordinary has fought the same inner battle. They weren't superhuman. They were simply committed. They didn't let the presence of fear determine the absence of action. They knew that negative thinking is a test, not a truth. And they passed the test by choosing faith over and over again. That's your challenge now. Not to be perfect, but to be aware. Not to have all the answers, but to ask better questions. Not to eliminate all fear, but to rise above it. You are a creator. Not a victim. Not a bystander. Not a puppet of your past. You are the writer of the script, the director of the film, and the star of your own story. But you've got to start thinking like it. No more giving energy to thoughts that keep you small. No more negotiating with doubt. No more entertaining lies about your worth. Your time is now. Your mind is ready. And your life will shift the moment you do. So let me leave you with this: the power that created this universe lives in you. And it responds to your thoughts. Not sometimes, every time. You've been given this magnificent mind, not to replay the past, but to design the future. And if you can hold the vision, even in the face of fear, you'll create a life that once only existed in your imagination. Kill your negative thinking, not with hate, but with healing. Not with noise, but with truth. Replace it. Upgrade it. Rise above it. And don't you dare settle for a small life just because your old thoughts try to pull you down. You were made for more. And the more you believe that, the more your world will begin to reflect it. You are powerful. You are ready. And you are no longer available for anything less than a life that reflects your highest thinking. There's a reason most people stay stuck. It's not because they are weak. It's not because they are lazy. It's because they are mentally loyal to a version of themselves they no longer want to be. They keep recycling the same doubts, replaying the same failures, and returning to the same limiting identity because it's familiar. But familiar doesn't mean safe. And it definitely doesn't mean successful. Your breakthrough will come the moment you get tired of your own excuses. Listen carefully, your old identity is not your destiny. You are not that story anymore. You don't owe it anything. Every time you say, "That's just how I've always been," you lock the door to your future. Every time you justify your limits, you reinforce your chains. But today, not tomorrow, not someday, today is the day you start showing up as the version of you who's already free. The you who thinks differently, speaks differently, walks with vision and acts with power. You don't wait to become that person. You decide to be them now. You must understand, your subconscious doesn't care what's true. It believes what you repeat. It obeys emotion, not logic. It responds to consistency, not good intentions. That means the more you feed it new images, empowering language, and clear goals, the more it rewires itself to make that your normal. Eventually, the old thoughts lose their grip, not because you fought them, but because you starved them. You stopped giving them power. And in that space, the real you began to rise. And here's something no one told you: negative thinking isn't just about fear. It's also about distraction. It's a detour disguised as doubt. Every time you indulge those small thoughts, you're putting off your greatness. Every time you tell yourself, "Not yet," you're postponing the life that's trying to reach you. And you don't even realize it. You think you're being careful, smart, cautious. But really, you're just staying comfortable. And comfortable kills dreams faster than failure ever will. You were not put here to play small. You were not built to repeat the same day 30,000 times and call it a life. You were made to stretch, to grow, to lead, to rise. But you can't do any of that if you keep bowing to the same negative thoughts that got you nowhere. You want to break the cycle? Then break the thought that started it. You want to upgrade your life? Then upgrade the story you're telling yourself about what's possible. You don't fix a negative mindset by fighting it. You fix it by rising above it. Elevate your thinking. Operate from vision, not memory. Start every day asking, "How would the highest version of me think right now?" And then live from that place. That's how transformation becomes permanent. Not through hype, not through motivation, but through identity. You must embody your future now. Talk like it. Move like it. Think like it. And soon the results will follow. Not because you forced them, but because they had no choice but to match your frequency. And here's the deepest truth: negative thinking isn't just keeping you from success, it's stealing your peace. It's robbing you of joy. It's dimming your light. It's convincing you that survival is enough when you were born to thrive. But no more. Today you rise. Today you speak life into your future. Today you stand up to the part of you that's been playing small and say, "You no longer make decisions here." The rest of your life starts with a choice. Not a wish. Not a goal. A decision. A line drawn in the sand. You're either going to keep thinking like a prisoner, or you're going to start thinking like a creator. You're either going to keep replaying your past, or you're going to rewrite your future. There is no neutral. Your thoughts are either moving you forward or pulling you back. Every moment, you're choosing. And today, you choose power. You choose vision. You choose to be done with every limiting belief that ever tried to define you. And when that moment of doubt creeps in again, because it will, you'll be ready. Not because fear disappears, but because now you've changed. You don't run from it. You don't hide from it. You stare it in the face and say, "That's not who I am anymore." You declare your new truth, not quietly, not passively, but boldly. Loudly. Every cell in your body begins to vibrate at a new frequency. And the world will feel it. You've killed your negative thinking not with violence, but with vision. Not with force, but with faith. And from this day forward, every time you doubt your worth, you'll remember this moment. This speech. This decision. And you'll rise again. And if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: you are not your thoughts, you are the thinker of them. That means you hold the steering wheel. You decide where your energy goes. You choose whether your thoughts serve you or sabotage you. And once you truly see that, once that clicks in your soul, you'll never again be a slave to negativity. Look, you've been lied to. You've been told you need to fix yourself. That you're broken. That you're not enough. But the truth is, you were never broken. You were buried under fear, under doubt, under generational programs that never belonged to you. And now, you're unearthing the real you. You're peeling back the layers of mental noise and remembering who you truly are, a powerful, creative, magnetic force in this universe. The world doesn't need a better version of your doubt. It needs the full version of your power. The one that walks into a room and doesn't shrink. The one that speaks and doesn't second guess. The one that creates boldly, lives loudly, and refuses to apologize for it. That version of you. That's the one you owe this world. That's the one you owe yourself. From this point forward, don't ask what if I fail. Ask what if I fly. Don't ask what will they think. Ask what will I become if I stop holding back. Because playing small doesn't protect you, it punishes you. And every time you ignore your calling just to stay comfortable, a piece of your purpose fades. But not anymore. From now on, you show up. Fully. Fiercely. Unapologetically. Negative thinking might knock on your door again. But now you don't answer. Because the version of you who lives here now, they are focused. They are grounded. They are free. And that freedom isn't a luxury. It's your responsibility. When you free yourself from mental limits, you give others